think this is what they call a hot take. This is a video I did but didn't want to do because we are the nicest YouTube community out there. We build each other up and we encourage, but we also tell people books we don't like. So if we can separate the art from the artist, I think we can line up why Again But Better is not a good book at all. Again, this is not about ripping apart who wrote this book. I'm not even going to mention who wrote this book because I do not want to be like, oh, it was awful. This author should have done more. She should have gotten it right. This is the reason that booktubers make bad books. Apparently that's a stereotype. But because this is the first booktuber book I've ever read, I am 0 for 1 for a good booktuber book right now. So that stereotype is 100% correct right now, and that needs to be fixed. Like, who do we expect to write really good books? Booktubers, people who live in books, people who have dedicated themselves to sharing books with others. Who would know the pitfalls of a good and a bad book? A booktuber. But, this is not about the author. This is about the book. See, and I'm going to show the name, even though French Watermelon 19, you guys know. The blue is everything I didn't like. The yellow, okay. Again But Better stars Shane Primaveri. Am I pronouncing that right? Who knows? Google probably knows. But do I have time for that? Not now. But this is chiefly a story about a girl reliving a coming of age. She has left the States to go on a abroad studying program, lying to her parents about going to a pre-med program so they'd finance the whole thing, just to do college over again, make new friends, have a social life, be adventurous, take risks, finally figure out if she wants to write for a living, like a dream she always had, even though her parents are pushing her to a more stable job in the medical field. When we first jump into the story, Shane is already on the pen, a giant hollowed out pen with wings. That is honestly where the first alarm bell went off. Second paragraph. We get to the premise really quick. Shane, she's writing in one of her Horcruxes, that's what she calls her diaries, which is a little facet I actually liked. I thought it was clever, because she's literally pouring out her soul into these notebooks. So she's making these lists in her Horcruxes. Lists called College, Take 2, Study Abroad Goals, Kick Butt at Internship, Turn it into a paid summer job, Make friends you like to hang out with and who like to hang out with you, Kiss a boy you like, Stop kiss blocking yourself, Have adventures in a city you're in, You've done nothing in New York City during the 2.5 years you've been there, you idiot. Maybe try to get a little drunk. Start your great American novel. Stop trying to think of the perfect first sentence. Just write. That last one is pretty good writing advice, actually. But then we get into, honestly, the worst part of this book. The dialogue. It reminds me, and it hurts me to remind me of this. It reminds me of how I wrote when I was 16. Oh my gosh. Everything is so stiff. It's not natural. All of the main characters in this book are around 20, yet they sound like kids who are trying to act like adults. I'll find you guys some examples. Shane's writing to stop kiss blocking herself. The lady sitting next to her, this lady I have issues with, all on its own. She peeks around her shoulder to get a look at what she's writing, and she says, "How in the world does one kiss block themselves? How old are you? Are you saying you're 20 years old and you've never kissed anyone? How interesting. Am I to assume you're friendless as well?" That's not too bad, knowing who this lady is. This lady. Shane goes on explaining to this stranger how she did college wrong, Shane nearly kills herself walking down the steps. And then we meet one of the bland other personalities, if you can call them that, who lives in the dorm Shane will be staying at for her abroad program. Babe. Shane nearly falls down the steps. Babe says, "I thought maybe you had fallen. The noises were epic." Shane says,
"Hey, I'm Shane, by the way."
The girl says, "I'm Babe."
"Babe like the pig in that movie with the talking farm animals?"
Babe says, "I love that pig." Shane and Babe go to unpack everything in their room. They start to stalk a bit outside the window in their room, and they notice these cute boys in the kitchen. So what do? They run around to the kitchen to go flirt. This is where we meet Pilot, the most human of this tale. We meet Pilot. "Hey, I'm Pilot," he says.
"Pilot? Like a pilot?"
The words escape my mouth before I can think them through. "What?" "Yes," he answers, looking mildly confused.
"Like the first episode of a show."
I continue. Stop talking. That's what I'm thinking. "Yeah, my parents are really, really into TV," he adds. "What?" Babe exclaims in disbelief. At the same time, I blurt,
"Oh my gosh, I'm really, really into TV."
Atticus and Pilot laugh. Do people laugh and sound this chipper in real life? Am I doing conversations wrong? And attached to the dialogue are cringy dialogue tags. Said, exclaimed, ejaculated. Stuff like that, but worse. Shane is talking to one of the bosses at her internship she's working for. Good, the boss smiles at me again. Have you done much traveling?
Not really. Well, I traveled here, but I wanted to travel more. I'm actually going to Rome this weekend.
I blurred excitedly. That's not the bad part. Fantastic! You're going to love it. She shrugs enthusiastically. How do you shrug enthusiastically? And later on, when Shane realizes that rude lady that was eavesdropping on her writing, can you eavesdrop on writing? Is eavesdrop just an audible thing? When that red-headed lady on the plane was sneaking a peek at her Horcrux writing, Shane realizes this lady's following her around. And Shane, she goes up to the lady and she says,
Why are you following me?
I growl slowly. How do you growl slowly? Why are you following me? I actually like that. The dialogue and Shane herself being trapped in her head all the time. You see all this blue? The first blue is right here. Page 16. I wanted to DNF at page 16. Everyone was annoying, childish. Like, not that they were whining. They were just so basic and plain. Nothing was exciting. I have to keep going back to the dialogue. Tell me, does this sentence fit in any conversation you would have with someone at a party today? Pilot and Shane are flirting it up at a club. Some band is playing in the background. Pilot ducks his mouth close to my ear as we take a step closer to the coat check window. What do you think their best song was? His voice tickles my face.
I think my favorite was that cover from that band I like.
That weird hipster band? Same. What person says that band I like instead of saying the actual name of the band? Okay, I feel like I'm going all over the place. Let me introduce you properly to Pilot. Pilot is the sexy hot guy we were spying on from the window from the girls' dorm to the kitchen. I liked Pilot in the beginning. He was chill, he was basic. You can't hate an ice cube. It's clear, you can see through it. It chills your drink. It's handy. Not one is useful, but it's fine. Two of my first likable yellow tags are related to Pilot. When Shane and Pilot first meet each other, they decide to go down the street to try to find some playing cards so they can have like a friendly dorm night to build bonding. They end up going to the store dedicated to the Beatles, and they were adorable. They really were. They were playing with that horrible dialogue, though.
Wow!
I stare at the beautiful, brightly colored Windows display.
It's Beatles full.
Pilot says, I have no words for that. Me neither, bro.
Did you get it?
Oh, I got it.
That was clever.
Let it be, Shane. Let it be. So they're subtly flirting with each other. They go to that little club and something awful happens, which I'm going to skip over for now. Not awful for the characters, awful for me to read. But then, the first bit of conflict introduced. 52 pages in. Pilot has a girlfriend back in America. Shane has been blocked. But this is also where I'm like, wait, Pilot's a gray area cheater, isn't he? He didn't tell anyone he had a girlfriend. He didn't tell Shane. He didn't stop flirting with Shane. So this is where my opinion of Pilot started to gradually go down. But also, Shane, you're not escaping. You now know he has a girlfriend. But are you gonna stop trying to be the side chick? No.
I'm biting my lip while he's talking, like a young adult book cliche.
How dare you? Pointing out the cliche doesn't alleviate the pain. It still happened. She still bit her lip. Probably after she exhaled a breath she didn't know she was holding. Also later on, because there's not enough tension in this book, see, we are in between the yellow tags. At that same club, Chad, our side character's Babe's, not really boyfriend, Babe's trying to get him to like her, so she took him to Paris along with Shane and Pilot, and he really doesn't like Babe, so he decides to make some moves on Shane so Babe will get the idea and leave him alone. So Chad, like, face plants his lips into Shane's face, but she dodges, so he like swoops by. It's basically like a lick. He basically just licked her, and she like fell on the floor. But then we had that nice, oh my gosh, there's so many cliches in this book. I hate it. I'm gonna name at least 3. One was the
Bit my lip like a young adult cliche.
This one is the classic chick fight, where the girl accuses the other girl trying to steal her man. Girl, you saw him go in for the kiss. You admitted it. You saw her try to avoid it. Why are you getting mad? The third one will be at the end, where it all ends. And at this club, this infamous club where chick fights happen, weird hipster bands are mentioned but never named. And it's not like this book's afraid of a copyright, okay? A lawsuit. Because there is so much pop culture out the wazoo, and I hate it. I have a minimal tolerance for pop culture reference in books. It needs to be evergreen. So this was both annoying and boring to read. Shane and Pilot are at this club, swaying side to side, and neither one of them good dancers. But then, oh my gosh, their arms brush. And for 1.5 pages, 11 paragraphs, and for over 500 words, we just get Shane giddy over just touching his skin. Oh my gosh.
What's happening right now? Houston, we have contact. Are we flirting? Like flirting more intensely than before? What do I do? Nothing. Just be cool. Keep doing what you're doing. You have to look at him, Shane. This is it. This is the moment. Oh my god. Stay cool, Shane. Stay cool. Concentrate on the song. I keep my movements to a minimum in an effort to ensure our skin-to-skin contact stays intact. Oh my god, he'll know. Oh my god, I'm going to stand still like I'm doing a pencil dive with my arms fight against my sides, aren't I? His lips are right there.
I don't want to read this book anymore. But I keep on. Shane isn't an annoying person. She's just an annoying head to be in. 20 to 30% of her vocabulary is she's wishy-washy, a liar. You have to remember that. She lied about this whole program. She's supposed to be learning medicine. No, she's learning how to write. All on her parents' dime because she's a liar. And it's even when she's writing in her Horcruxes. Okay, I've never had a diary because I don't trust people not to open them. But I feel like a diary entry would be personal, like you're having a conversation with the pages. The format of her diary entries felt like a very lazy way of just progressing the story. Not really progressing, just like calling back what these group of people did in between scene breaks. You could argue that because she is a blogger, she is writing her diary entries like she's writing her blogs, but it doesn't work. There's nothing differing the bulk of the story in its normal format from the diary entries except the font it's in. If you would match the font together, no one could tell it was a diary entry if you also just like scribbled out the dates written on top of them. These diary entries tell us in a detached way what all happened on the adventures Shane, Pilot, and their dorm friends are doing. Because for easily the first 180 pages, nothing besides Pilot has a girlfriend is happening. Besides, you guys know Monster of the Week. Oh, a TV show comes on. Oh, they're fighting a new monster. Oh, they defeat the monster. Stay tuned for next week where they fight Mega Godzilla. This book is like that. They go to class, they hang out, they eat shawarma, they go to some new city, Rome or Paris, every weekend, and then it just repeats in a boring, boring cycle. This goes on until my favorite part, the big conflict happens. Just a few more things before I get into the big conflict and the twist that happens. Other things that annoyed me. Paragraphs could go on just about what people were wearing. I don't care if she's wearing a red pea coat or I was about to say Darth Vader costume, but if they were wearing a Darth Vader costume, I would want to know that. But on one page, Shane just goes on about the crossbody purse she's wearing and how it's so helpful. Oh, I'm also wearing a white sweater. It's a little too big, but fashionably big. And then I know you don't want to hear this, but because I had to read it, you have to listen to it. Listen to this waste of trees and ink. The editing station. Shane's at work right now, the internship for Packed for Travel magazine. The editing station is a group of 5 big Mac desktops grouped together. The cute young male employee I noticed during the tour works over there. He's pale and skinny with square black rimmed glasses and curly brown hair. I remember his name. Declan. Then there's the pretty brown-skinned lady with long flowing locks who works at a desk adjacent to the editing bay, Donna. And across from her desk, I think the oldest man in here, George. He's got pasty skin, round, black-rimmed glasses, and a receding hairline. Across the room are 2 other desks positioned back to back. One is Janet's, a petite black woman with cool red glasses and voluminous shoulder-length bronze curls. And the other is Jamie's, a posh, fake-tanned, might be in her 40s, intimidating, tall woman with bleached, straight hair and bangs. None of these characters matter! And then let's just go into the dialogue again. Do you want to know about Shane? Do you want her backstory? You would. That's what you want in a main character, right? How do we get it? So, Shane has 2 settings. 3. Crying, saying a lot, mixed with some flirting. And number 3 is just sitting and spewing out all her life. That is info dumping. Having Shane tell us about how her parents don't understand her first in a backstory, then later on tell it in smaller snippets to Pilot would have been more effective than just plopping us down on the bunk bed together, Shane, Pilot, and us. Be like,
this is what happened to me. I My parents, they always had my life set for me.
You remember the hollowed out pin with wings? That's a weird simile metaphor analogy. I don't know. But there's like more. Shane's freaking out one moment. She says that she feels like her stomach's falling out of her butt. Shane, how big is your butthole? A healthy stomach's the size of your fist. So, if you stayed with us this long, you're 160 pages in. This is where the conflict happens. Finally, after watching children in a teenage young adult body just giddy through foreign cities for pages and pages. Finally, Shane's parents make a surprise visit, find out that she's been lying to their faces. They break her phone, they storm out, they basically disown her. And I am happy because they're all miserable. Pilot's been separating himself from Shane, getting his own life together, sticking with his old girlfriend Amy. And then we get to the time skip all the way from 2011 to 2017. Shane is interviewing to be a doctor, get a residency. It's not going that well because she still talks like a 16-year-old. I would not let this woman perform any type of surgery on my stomach. But because Shane is also a grade A stalker, she finds out that where she's doing her interview is right by where Pilot is working. They meet up, Shane begs to talk with him. He's like, girl, we haven't talked in like 6 years. Why are you here? I'm happy with Amy. We're engaged. You still hate her, man. Pilot, you're wishy-washy too. You don't like confrontation. But anyways, they go to a coffee shop, but this isn't an ordinary coffee shop. This coffee shop is run by that woman who was on the plane. Turns out she's some type of Time Lord. Probably. It's not explained. And then time travel happens. This is a contemporary. Where'd the time travel come from? So then we realize why this is called Again But Better. We go back to 2011 and Pilot and Shane get to do the whole thing over again. This is the reason I did not DNF at page 16 because I knew this twist was going to happen and I wanted to see how it would play out and redeem everything else. It didn't. It bloody didn't. Because now we're in a sci-fi. Oh, so you want to know why and how and what mechanics are employed to create this whole time travel phenomenon that happened in an elevator at a coffee shop by an obscure redhead with no name? Sucks to be you. We don't know either. When this redheaded lady pops up again a little while later to explain the not rules, because there is no rules because nothing is explained. And Shane's like,
This sounds awfully like magic. Is this magic or is it science?
"It is what you make it," says the red-headed lady. I hate you. I hate you. As someone with red in my hair, you have done me dirty, red-headed lady. I expect more for one of my soulless sisters. Shane is all mystified and wow it.
Oh my gosh, this is like Harry Potter. Oh my gosh, Wrecking Ball hasn't been made yet.
Meanwhile, Pilot, still the most likable person in this, even though he is a cheater. He ain't thrilled that the time traveling is happening. He wants to get back to Amy for some reason, even though he does not like her. And why doesn't he like Amy? We don't know why. No one tells us why. I felt so bad for Amy in this book. This girl, she traveled on the first timeline all the way to London to surprise her boyfriend. You think boyfriend was happy to see her? No, he just ruined all his flirting. In the second timeline, where our main duo goes back into their adolescent 2011 bodies, same thing happens. Kinda. Pilot's like, oh, this girl, this Shane, she is the one for me. I'm gonna break up with Amy. With a voicemail. So that happens. Amy never gets the voicemail. So she still comes over and Shane and Pilot get separated for a bit. You'll know why in a second. Shane's doing her own sort of shenanigans. And then when Shane and Pilot get reunited, Pilot tells her that he dumped Amy. That poor girl. Is she still in London? Is she stranded? Is she okay? I mean, she only talked twice in the whole book. And on that first time she talked, she sounded a little mentally unstable. Depressed. Okay. This is what I want. I want a sequel. I really do. And I want it called Again But Amy, Amy's Revenge. I want a Cinderella 3 twist on it. I want Amy to be able to get the button. No, I want Amy to go into that coffee shop, reverse time. I want her to make sure Shane and Pilot never meet so that she can keep Pilot to herself. And then I want Shane to try to finagle her way in between them. And then I want Amy to just beat her up at every corner. This is what I want. I will fanfic this if I have to. Even though I'm not a fan. I do not like this book. But still, this book originally started off as a girl opening herself up to the world, introducing herself again, better herself do it again but better. She wanted to go to a different sort of college so she could shed off her old introvert self. Do you think she still thinks about that after she met Pilot? No. This has become an awful romance. Oh, but Casey, there's a redemption part in the back of the book. In the very, very back. Easily 300 pages in the back. Shane is beginning to realize everything is about her and Pilot. The first time she was at her internship, all the people who we got ridiculous descriptions for that we don't really care about, they loved her because she was there, she was attentive. But on the second time travel, she and Pilot are all lovey-dovey, so she's like neglecting all her work, no one takes her seriously, and then when her boss Wendy tells her, we're not gonna let you do an article for a magazine, Shane realizes that she blew it. She let a boy consume her life. So then she goes up to Pilot, she's like, I'm not me, I'm becoming us. This would be some character development I would totally get behind if we weren't punched in the face with the,
oh my gosh, I'm screwing everything up.
2 pages before she goes out and confronts Pilot about it. If it was gradually building up to this, like Shane picking apart that something's not right, something's changing about ourselves, I would have backed her up more, but it's like the narrative got swept up in their love that the author was like, oh, I have to put some great female empowerment into it. So yeah, punch!
Oh no, I messed it up. Must fix.
It's abrupt and it's done so poorly. So Shane tells Pilot, I can't do this anymore. We need a break. I want to reset. Because they have a button. Oh my gosh, this button. So one of the most potentially suspenseful, exciting parts of the story could have been them looking for the magical button that's set in Rome that would allow them to click and reset and go back to their original timeline. Pilot, at first, because he wants to go back to Amy, he was all for finding the button. They find the button. Was it an adventurous hunt that got the blood pumping? No. You took every bit of fun and adventure out of it, and you just had Shane bite into some ravioli, and oh, I found the button! I want to be thrilled. I don't want to watch someone almost choke on ravioli. That would be like if Indiana Jones went to the bathroom and just tripped over the Ark of the Covenant. Where's the excitement, folks? So Shane, after making Pilot cry and telling him to go back to his girlfriend that he was super miserable with, spot on character right there, Shane goes on this big soul-searching journey. She rededicates herself to her internship. She gets everybody to take her seriously. She gets her chance to write and just ace the article. She gets her foot in the doors for the jobs that she wants in a writing career. She can prove her parents proud. This is a rather productive and pleasant part of the book because it is a fast-paced, not really journey. She's just knocking stuff out of the way. It's nice to see her concentrating on something. But when the entire packed for traveling writers go out to lunch and they take Shane, one of the ladies lets slip that she's married.
I'm sorry, I don't know.
I fumbled.
You're so independent and successful and young. I figured it's so hard to maintain a relationship and also be such a bad butt.
Shane is just shocked that this successful woman could have a husband. So, I guess married women aren't successful? Shane asks,
how do you guys find time to be a couple?
Because the guy and the girl are both writers. The lady who, gasp, has a husband says it's all about patience and support. I would have gotten here by myself, but I like to think my journey was a little less rocky because I had him to lean on when things were really stressful, and vice versa with his books. Subtler. We get it. Shane needs the balance, her work and her relationships and herself, and be more subtle. You could say I'm being very harsh. I am, but it's well-founded. If this was just a sweet, cutesy tale like one I read, what's it called? Love and First Sight. That was a sweet, cutesy tale based on something serious, blindness. And I love that book. It was funny and poignant. I think that's the word. It was important. It had something to say. It was basically about a crush and a boy relearning everything about himself in the world. This is a story about a crush and relearning yourself in the world. And if this was just a sweet cutesy tale and not a sci-fi in disguise of a contemporary, I would like it more if it was actually funny. I didn't laugh once. Except, okay, I almost almost smiled on this yellow tag. Just this yellow one. Pilot and Shane, they're in this hostel. Their bunk beds are side by side. They're looking at each other in the dark. They're having a moment because I think Shane was just freaking out because she lost her purse or something. Pilot says, "Someone almost mugged you. It's not stupid to feel overwhelmed." I blink up at the ceiling. "Can I ask you something?" Pilot continues.
Yeah.
He turns onto his left side, propping his head up with his arm. I rotate to my right to match. Inside's in full freakout mode. Pilot purses his lips. "Do you think Chad is Santa?" It was just so random. It caught me off guard. I almost smiled. By the way, Chad, he is another yellow tag in this book. He was the guy that tried to kiss Shane. In the time redo, Shane slapped him instead of trying to dodge it. Physical assault. Love it. Sorry, I had a necklace malfunction. So, if this book was funny, I'd like it more, but it's not. Dramatic necklace. There are these weird running jokes that don't hit the mark. Shane apparently has issues setting glass drinks down on tables without making a lot of noise. Apparently this is broken. Apparently she keeps knocking chairs over. Comedy gold. Okay, there's two lines that describe this book in the book. Pilot meets my eyes with an impish grin. So predictable. And this one's a little crude, so I'm just gonna case-anize it for a second.
You gotta be crapping me.
Okay, so we've been on this amazing journey of self-discovery, but now I have to venture back into the author who wrote this. Just a little. Again, not throwing shade at who wrote this at all. Separate art from artist. The book wasn't good. It's again but better. The person who wrote this is a really, really huge face of Booktuber. And you can tell. You can tell by reading this thing. It nearly breaks the fourth wall many, many times, especially when someone's talking about books, or since it's 2011, a young baby booktube. YouTube. Was booktube even alive at that time? Maybe in a fetus stage. Atticus and Shane are talking about their favorite books. Shane's like, "Oh, I'm reading City of Glass right now. What are you reading, Atticus?" "I'm reading something called The Poet. It's creepy, but it's good." Shane's like,
I'll add it to my TBR.
did that term exist in 2011? And Atticus, who clearly isn't well-versed in books, he doesn't stop to ask, what does TBR mean? Another scene they called The Fault in Our Stars by its acronym, TFIOS. In Our Stars. Yep, I said that right. Pilot's like, "What is that?" Shane's like,
An awesome book.
Pilot's like, "Okay." Never clarifies what they're talking about. Some bigger ones are when Pilot's, cheesing it up, and he's like, "I've never met someone as outwardly passionate about their favorite things as you."
Well, things inspire me and make me happy and feel more understood. If I can give that to someone else by recommending my things, I want to.
That's what a booktuber would say. Shane is not a booktuber. And this one is the big one. Shane is trying to convince Pilot, who has his own band, to kick his career off by posting videos on YouTube like Justin Bieber. And then you get the feeling that here, she stops talking to Pilot, she turns to the audience, and she says,
This is just a platform to jump off of. YouTube is huge. People can discover you there. You can build an audience there. It's a portfolio when you're trying to get a new job. It can provide endless possibilities. I spend a lot of time on the internet. I've watched it grow with my own eyes.
The complaints I read about this book, and agree with 95%, no, 100, I was trying to be nice, I can't, is that the author who wrote this is either a fan fiction, self-inserted fan fiction, or wish fulfillment. I agree. French watermelon, 19. And in the preface, author's note, it very clearly says that this is the book the author wished she had when she was little. This is what she needed. Again, but better as fiction, but inspired by my own experiences. Thank you so much for picking it up. It's great to have a book on your own experiences. Do it right, though. Make it interesting. Have conflict. Have stakes. Make the characters likable. They are bland as tofu. Secondary characters entirely forgettable. Pilot, fine line, bro. You're walking the fine line. Oh, and how does this all end after our leading man Pilot has been missing for 30 pages while Shane's out finding herself in Edinburgh, the birthplace of Harry Potter? Because, oh my gosh, have we not talked about Harry Potter in this book? Stop. How does this end? With the biggest cliche in movies. And I never saw you coming. I told you, Primavera. if you're in sight.
I see you.
Oh my god. Okay, yeah, hi, excuse the naked face, but as I was taking all those little sticky notes out of this book, I remembered something that I obviously forgot to say in the video, but what is this? This is like in between them time traveling, them going back to 2011. Is this some sort of time ripple or a printer malfunction? Bad. That's why that was a blue tab.